Howdy, my name is Bubba and I'm going to demonstrate how to graft watermelon plants with these two watermelon plants in front of me. The type of grafting I'm going to do is called an approach graft, and you're going to make a cut on each plant and put them together, and then a couple days later, actually 4 days later, you'll start to separate the top from the bottom. There are a couple tools that you'll need. First tool is you'll just need something to make your cut, and for that just a regular flat straight razor blade will work. Once the cuts are made, you're going to need something to hold the grafts in place, hold the two plants in place, and there are a couple different things you can use. One is called a grafting clip. It's kind of like a clothespin. It's made out of plastic. It opens and closes and you clip it onto the plant itself like that, and that'll hold it in place. If you don't want to use a grafting clip, you could also use what's called grafting foil. And there's two different kinds. One is made out of aluminum foil. It's very light, and I don't like to use it because it doesn't hold very well. And what you'll do is you'll wrap it around the plant, just like wrapping it around your finger. But it doesn't hold very well, so I don't like to use that kind. The kind that I do like to use is made out of lead. It's a little bit heavier, and it holds a little bit better. But it's basically the same thing. You wrap it around the plants where you have them touching each other, where the grafting point is. And I like to use this version, the lead version. Let me explain a couple things about the grafting process. Because you have two plants, one is going to be for the roots, and that's called the rootstock. The other one is going to be for the top part of the plant that produces the fruit, and that's called the scion. So this one right here, we'll say, is going to be the scion. So we want this plant for the top part. We don't need the roots of this plant. And that's why we're going to graft it to the second plant, because this one we don't want the top, but we want the root system. So we're going to take the top of this plant and attach it to the bottom of this plant, and then we'll trim off the other parts that we don't need when we're done with it. So let me demonstrate how this is done. An approach graft, you'll make two cuts on each plant. You'll take your razor blade and you'll make an incision about a little bit around the middle of the plant, and you don't want it to go all the way through the plant. Just kind of make a little slice halfway through the stem so you don't cut the top completely off. I'm not sure if you can see that, but where I bend it open you can see where the cut is. So you do that on each one. So there's our scion. Now I need to do the same thing on the rootstock here. And now we have the cut on the rootstock. It's called an approach graft because you're going to approach each other with the two plants. And when it's done, it's going to look like an X. So I flip this plant over so that I have the two cuts facing each other, and then I'll fit them in together. Just like that. And the idea is to have as much contact of the cut tissue as possible, because that's where the plant's going to grow together, is where the cut is, right there. So now that they're next to each other and they're in place for where I need them to be, I'll take the foil and wrap it around where I made the cut. Might be kind of hard to see this part here, but you'll just take the foil and start spinning it around. And you have to be real careful, because if you go too hard, you're going to break the watermelon plants, since you just basically cut them in half. You want to pinch them together, make sure there's a lot of contact. Wrap the foil nice and tight. So in the end, the plants will look kind of like an X, where they're touching each other. Once this is done, you'll put the plants back in the pots, water them, and about 4 days later you'll need to come back and start to separate them, because like I said, you only need the root system of one, and you only need the top of one. So you need to cut off the other parts that you don't need 4 days later. And you'll use your razor blade to do the same thing. So this plant right here is for the root system. So this plant, we don't need the root system. So 4 days later, I would come with my razor blade and cut the plant. So there we go, we don't need this root system anymore. So now we have one root system, but two parts of the top parts of the plant, and we only need the one part. And so 4 days after we cut the bottom part off of this one, so now it's 8 days after our first grafting, we'll come and cut the top part off of the other plant. And there you have it. So 8 days later, you end up with a single plant, a single watermelon plant with the root system of one plant and the top or the scion of the other plant. And this is how an approach graft works.